Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Truth Podcast. My guest this week is Epic Alex Iglecia. And Alex is from San Francisco Bay Area, is a lucky husband, avid exerciser, creator of Being Epic, catalyst of self-discovery for emerging speakers and leaders, full-time pet sitter. Home is everywhere. And if you really knew me, you'd know that being happy and feeling free enough to laugh and smile around actual people has been something I've had to work on, and I'm grateful to have this so far. Thanks for being epic. And that is Alex. Welcome to the show, Alex.
Hi, Jim. Hi, everybody. Thanks.
Epic Alex. I love that. I absolutely love that. So where are you from?
Well, I was born in Texas, and my mother's from Austria, but born and raised in Colombia. My father is from Puerto Rico. So I am a Puerto Rican Jew from Texas who moved to California when I was 8.
No, that's fine, man. I'm all kinds of things. So but my first question usually every show is, what lit the fire for you to want to become an entrepreneur, or what happened that made you want to do this?
Yeah, I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I got in trouble growing up a bunch of different times with my ideas, with trying to make things better, with writing fantasy porn when I was done with my typing class, and I got in trouble for that. So I was always not belonging everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It was really later when I got sort of obsessed with this sense of like, what's my story? And it happened because I was helping a martial arts pioneer rebrand and do product development. And I was sort of doing more of the product development and the sales and the marketing than he was. And I was promoting a workshop talking all about him because he has a phenomenal story. And this one lady just slammed her hand on the table and said, "He's not here. Who are you?" I didn't have an answer to that. And it started this quest of like, what am I up to? What's my story? And as I dug into that, I couldn't help but pioneer what I was doing in fitness and mind, body, and helping people. So that's what led me. The entrepreneurial part was like, because I don't fit in organizations very well unless I'm consulting or facilitating, and I needed to find my own way.
Did you get the thing? This is what I got a lot in school. I was always in trouble for daydreaming and doodling and not paying any attention to what they're saying because I already had it. Did you find that in school?
I remember being woken up once in math class because a student was complaining that I was sleeping, and the teacher said to the student, "Alex gets his work done."
You had the other end of it. I got the raw end of that deal.
Yeah, so I got in trouble because people didn't understand what I was trying to do, or I was doing something that was so taboo a little bit.
Yeah.
Or sometimes just people didn't know how to encourage me. I remember not following the rules in a chemistry set. I created this material and I thought, "Oh my God, I've created an indestructible material." And I took it to the teacher, and she cut it up, and she's like, "No," and it's like, it could have been nicer. There could have been some encouragement.
Yeah.
I work better with encouragement than slap downs.
Yes, of course.
I don't bounce back the way some people do, and that's fine. Right. Everyone's different.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because a story from school, basically, it was always kind of, I was a good writer and I was, intelligent and all that. I got too smart for my own good because I knew how to pass all the tests and not do any of the homework. Ended up with a C, but I still passed, So I wasn't lazy. I just thought it was tedious. I didn't, you know what I mean? I just had a whole different mindset on what was going on back then. And I understand myself better now because I thought I was a freak and all that stuff too when I was a kid, because I didn't think like everybody else. And I think you're kind of, it feels like you're similar in that regard.
Yeah. There's a huge scarcity for the space to be seen as who we are without judgment.
Yeah.
Where we can make mistakes where someone could even see the mistake we're making, or the quote unquote limiting belief, and they can see through that to see the gift that's hiding, and then nurture that.
You reach for the gold, basically. Yeah, I got that. I got that 100%. I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. What kind of struggles, or either internal or external, did you go through along your journey of being an entrepreneur, kind of becoming, and how did you overcome those things? Are you still going through those things? Lots of questions there. Sorry.
So there's a surface part and a deep part I'd love to address, Jim.
Go for it.
The surface part was when I really really started going for creating my business on purpose, I could not nail the niche. And that caused so much stress. And I didn't understand it at the time, but I found that whenever I didn't focus on a niche and didn't try to define it, I'd get a client, I'd get invited to talk, something interesting would happen, I'd have a $20,000 month. But if I was focusing on defining the niche and who I want to serve and why, trying to get answers, that completely killed it for me. And then I would be told, you're resistant, you're not committed, all these things. It's like, and it took a long, long, long time until two things happened. One, very expensive coach said to me, you're not committed. And by that point, I had enough knowledge and practice with the mind-body connection and how to listen to my own yes and my no to realize in my body that that was not true for me. And if that wasn't true for me, I wondered, well, what the heck is true? And in that question, I realized, oh my God, I'm committed to something different that I'm not aware of. But that lit me up, just the energy of that truth. Similarly, a different coach, different program, said to me, I think, Alex, you're playing small. And again, I could feel, and that you need to play a bigger game. And I could feel like there's something not right about that. So what's true here? And what came out was, oh my God, I'm already playing my bigger game. I'm just not sure how to name it. Those two things took me in a completely different direction to how to relate to what I'm doing in the world, to relate to my place in the world, to drop my agendas, to drop a lot of competition. And I still run into that, but I've got a very different way to orient that is more expansive and safer.
That's awesome. I think that a lot of times we try to pin things down, and people look at us and they see so much potential in us. I think they really truly just want to help us, but yet it's not what's ringing true for us in our soul. You know what I mean? So like you said, when you would focus on this niche, you would focus on this, what do I call it? What do I do? What do I do? You know, you were really in stress. You know what I'm saying? And so that translates to your business, you know. So, but when you were happy and you were in your element, everything started clicking, you know. So I see that also as a lesson for people. You know, don't get so stressed out over some of the little things. And even though it seems like it's a big thing, if you're doing something successful, keep doing that.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jim. I saw something recently where it said, the question was, let me get this right. You know, what are you doing today? How is what you're doing today going to affect you 10 years from now? What are you doing today? If you keep doing what you do today, where are you going to be in 10 years? And normally, if I saw something like that, that would sort of bring me into the negative, into, what am I doing wrong? That's going to screw me up.
Really?
But when I saw it, it realized, you know, it was sort of like, well, out of the 100% of everything that I do, it just drew me to, what are the things that are so right that I could drop the rest and just nurture these things? And again, it's I think the bigger picture there is, can we be aware inside of us when we're going to truth, which is always going to be more expansive, or we're going to something, some thoughts, some trauma that is contractive to our body, our mind, our creativity, and then we're thinking that that's true, but it's not. But we then get in a bit of a loop.
Yes.
So knowing that inner difference is.
Are you there?
Yes.
Sorry. So I thought we lost the video. Sometimes that happens, and so I have to ask. But this is it's a very deep personal journey when you become an entrepreneur, because you have to face yourself in the mirror all the time. It's not exactly pretty for us, because we sit there and we see all the failures and all the bad stuff, and it's only me. I mean, who's going to listen to me? I'm just Jim, that type of thing. And then, but others really see us as this dynamic thing and this great person and this other thing. And you're like, who? Hey, you're looking behind you and stuff. You know what I mean? So there's such a growth curve when you're doing stuff like that and putting yourself out there, because you have to grow in order to grow your business. I think that's a mirror image. I think it's a mirror image, your business and yourself. So as you grow, your business grows. And so when you're comfortable at your 9 to 5 or your 7 a.m. to 3:30, which is me. But anyway, if you're comfortable at that level, you can stay at that level, no problem. But if you want to grow, you have to face that person in the mirror. What do you think about that?
I think growth is a really interesting challenge, and I think letting go is hugely important too, because we can be doing a lot of activities, we can even be growing in ways that on the paper look correct, and yet something can feel like it's off.
Mm-hmm.
And if we start to examine things like, am I making the impact I want? If I were to die tonight, how would I, what would I do with my time? If I was going to live forever, how would that change things? Mm-hmm. And I like playing with these bigger questions, because I think we're constantly course correcting. And to use a bit of a body analogy, since I spent a lot of time in fitness and yoga and mind body worlds and corrective, like physical therapy worlds, a lot of what allows our body to heal is not the doing or the reps or the adding of the weight that causes the growth, which of course, also, this is fun. We don't grow by working out. We destroy our bodies by working out, and then we heal based on the adaptation, right? It's a completely different way to think about growth through the stress. But the letting go, right? If we have bad posture, you can work really hard, and maybe it looks like you're getting 3 steps forward, but you're also damaging your body. So there's this game of, how do I be aligned without holding myself back and spending years, doing inner work, and work on things, but yet not work on things that do me or anyone harm. It's this fantastic balance.
You're so deep. Holy cow. Oh, you have a really good insight and a really good handle on things. I just want you to know that.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
I can see that. And the amount of time that you spent in meditation and thinking and reasoning out, I could see that as well. That's really something, because it's a whole different perspective. You destroy your body to create growth. So in your inner work, how does that relate to inner work? Is it the same thing, do you think?
Well, so let's start with the outer and then come back to the inner, Jim.
Okay, yeah.
So let's say an entrepreneur. Let's say an entrepreneur's like just what's correct for that person is a particular balance of ease and relaxation and effort. And for whatever reason, that person has decided, I need to really work at this. I need to hustle. I need to make it happen. And they're not honoring the part that says, hey, the more you relax, the more energy you have, the more clarity you have. So let's say that person starts to do it. They do all the right things. They're following their coach or their team. They do the things, but because they're not honoring the other part of them, they're imbalanced. So every time they work at it, it's like they're disrespecting themselves. So there's a certain damage that accumulates.
Okay.
Now, you can floss every day, That helps. Or you can back up a little bit and eat things that don't stain your teeth, that don't stick in your teeth. So we can tailor our business over time to like what is appropriate for me in the world of going for it, and what is appropriate for me in the world of completely dropping my agenda. When do I do that? When do I do it during the year? Is it seasonal? When do I do it during the day? It's a constant conversation with ourselves. I don't think that game ever ends. So then the inner game side of that I would say has been more where I've gotten stuck, which is partly why I help people with the inner game so fast. But I've tended to think, this was, okay, this is I think this is an interesting insight. For a long time, my unconscious belief that was also a gift was I need to clear things out that are not true, that are not me, so that I can blossom, so that I can have, alignment and flow and clarity. However, if you think about doing that with a house, let's say we're going to have a party. You're like, okay, how do I want to arrange things to enjoy this party, to handle the people, to handle all the food and have a good time? We don't think, let me clear the entire house out first so that I can have a vision for how I want to arrange the house.
No, you don't.
So in the inner world, for some reason, a lot of people, totally me, gets this weird idea, it's totally unsaid, that we have to do all this inner clearing perfection first. Now, this goes way back, because what's the Buddha's story? He did all these different spiritual practices that were all about asceticism, giving things up, surrendering, letting go, in order to get enlightened. And what ended up happening was he finally said, okay, enough of that. It's not getting me anywhere. And that's the point. It's never going to get you somewhere. What it will do is allow something to show up, or allow you to see and recognize what you couldn't before. So it has a value. And so, end of the Buddha story is he sits with that tree. He faces stuff, right? He welcomed it in. He faced it, he processed it, his body integrated it, etc. He had the experience he had, and then he was able to speak and to share. And I think that's really important for entrepreneurs, especially people who I end up talking to who are spiritual, or they're energetic, or they're playing a bit like they're doing this for impact. They're doing this for their soul. There's that piece, and that's bigger than money for them, more important. Of course, they need to have that balance. And so balancing the inner work, facing things, knowing how to deal with the fears in a way that it's almost like you digest it, and through that you get more clarity. Not just you're getting away from the fear, you're avoiding the fear, but you alchemize it, you transform it. That produces more value for your clients, and even if it doesn't, it produces more value for you. And that's, I think, a bigger game.
That's wow. Whoa. I love how you think. Absolutely do. It's making me think right here on the show. So, so I'm sitting here thinking, how do I be the host and try to get as much knowledge as I possibly can? Because those insights are incredible. You don't take everything out of a house. I had never even thought of that before.
Yeah,
never entered my mind.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of the speaker world, especially if there's conversations about limiting beliefs and mindset and personal growth, that you have to clear the inside of the house to get the vision is a deeply unsaid piece. It's not always there, but it's there. It's an easy trap. It's never overtly said.
So instead of trying to get take everything out of the house, do you clean the house? I mean, what do we do with the house? I mean, I know that sounds kind of a weird question, but if we're not taking things out, what do we do? Dust them off? Or I mean, it's kind of that idea in my mind, at least.
Yeah. So I really think in polarities. It's really hard for me to ever come to one thing, because I always see them in pairs. And
duality. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm going to say it really just depends on the person and the circumstance.
Mhm.
Because it could be, like for us, my wife and I, when we how do I say this? We didn't just say yes to a 9-year-long dream. We recognized that we were in the stream of the dream and we said yes to it. That's different than saying, how do we make this happen? Because for 9 years, and I'll tell you what the dream was in a second, for 9 years, we couldn't make it happen. We thought about it, we talked about it, we thought about it, we processed it, we did a lot of things. But it didn't ever happen. And then someone could say, well, you could have just bought a plane ticket to Hawaii. So it's an interesting, it's interesting to explore from the outside, but on the inside, it was just like, it didn't happen for 9 years until a number of things transpired. And it was like, oh, this is happening. Do we want to say yes? Oh, yes, let's say yes to this. And so the dream was to go to Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
It came in my life because I had followed a dream. I said, I have to take people on retreat to dive into who they really are so they can return who they're meant to be. Now, this was years before I realized that I have a gift for helping people when they are years ahead of themselves.
Oh,
and
I know about that.
And so when I said what I just said, the thing about the retreat, I was years ahead of myself. But what I do, I jumped into massive action. I recruited friends. I created a retreat. Nobody signed up. This was 2006. I went. I gave myself the retreat. I highly recommend anytime we are messengers that we deeply indulge in our message for ourselves first, that our message is medicine, but it's for us first, and maybe not even for anybody else. Because I went and took that class, I hurt my neck. Because I hurt the neck, I got to take the class again, and that took us to Hawaii. We never would have, well, I mean, we probably would have gone to Hawaii at some point. And we felt at home. And it was the first time I actually had an experience of feeling like I belonged on the planet.
Wow.
And then for the next 9 years, we did not return to Hawaii, but we kept almost every day, Hawaii was in our consciousness. Until 2015, a few things happened, and my wife started getting free plane tickets and luxury places to stay in Hawaii. And then I got asked to go speak to a group in Boston. On the plane ride, which I had a vision for a piece of my work that I then delivered to that group, which was magical in terms of their creativity, fear, and team bonding. And within a few months, we were living in Hawaii, and we let go of everything.
Oh, the video died out. Oh God. We're gonna wait for a minute and see if it comes back. Alex's the video kind of messed up. We'll be all right.
Thank you. Thanks for your patience with the video.
Not a problem.
And I apologize for everybody who's
no big deal.
So should I go back a moment in my story?
Just keep going. We're not going to cut it out.
So to go back to the house part, and what should we clean the house? What's the metaphor?
Yes.
How do you want it to be? What is, on one hand, the one pole is, what is it you do know? Now, you might know 1%. You might not know anything, but there's a feeling. You might be able to name it. Right? It's really any range in the known area. And on the other side, there's the, what do I need to let go? And somewhere in there is the right fit that lets you just be like, yep, I'm going. And a little bit too much of one, and you'll feel like something's unclear, you're not going. A little too little of that, and you'll feel like it's not time. All these excuses are, for the most part, reflections of that imbalance that we're taking too seriously.
So you'll know when things, I mean, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry. I just had a thought, though, that it's almost like when you're in the flow, you know you're right. When you know things, you're just perfectly kind of peaceful and you feel like, you know, everything's all right. You don't feel out of balance. Then you're in the right spot. That's the sweet spot, right?
Yeah, you're able to do. One of my my old yoga teacher friends would say, when you don't know what to do nothing.
I like that.
And that's
Absolutely, really, I do like that.
it's such a quick way to play that balance. Is what's mine to do right now, to do anything, is maybe no. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs can give themselves permission to not do. And that takes a lot of forms, getting things out of your way, delegating, all sorts of stuff. And when there's clarity of what to do, for the most part, there will be energy for it. Now, the energy could be like, oh, I don't want to do this, but I know it's time to do it. And and that's flow too. And it could
Okay.
it could be like, oh, I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just whistling while I'm working. So the doing doesn't have to feel good. And that was another thing that got me trapped. I never signed up for that trap. I never signed up for, I really want everything to feel good, like not consciously. But that meme is out there, especially in the mindset world.
Yes.
That things should feel good, or that what is right for you to do will feel good. That's not true if we're equating good with anything like comfort, snuggle, safety, all those things. Good could be, I used to teach self-defense and hand-to-hand combat. And there was a moment where I realized that, especially when teaching women, that there's a part of it that we want to feel safe and protected, and we have these skills. There's another part which I love punching someone. I love fighting.
Yeah.
And to be willing, this is sort of like an entrepreneurial confession, to be willing to admit that we love the whatever. I love charging too much. I love,
Okay.
I love fighting. I love arguing. Like that's a possibility that can free up a lot of people where they haven't been able to free themselves.
Wow. You talk about an epic life, and I want to know more about that.
Okay. I got invited to pet sit in Miami about 2 years ago. And I got there, and I was having some relational fights with my brand, with my message, with being epic.
Yeah.
Which has now been since 2004. Like, that has been with me since 2004. And I got to Miami, and the flight was paid. I had a beautiful, I don't remember the floor, 15th, 20th floor place to stay. Then I found out across the street was the Epic Hotel. Then I got some random invitation for a meetup in that area by epic speakers. It was like, my brain was nuts. Like, are you kidding me? What is going on? And it was such a gift, because it helped me own another angle of my own message, which I've been saying. So here's the key piece. Thanks for being epic is not the finish line, it's the starting line. A lot of people talk about, if they use epic in a business sense or success sense, it is implicitly about the finish line. How to create an epic life. Make this much money, buy the thing the way you want. There's this, that is not even what epic means at its essence. Epic, what an epic is, if we're going to be honest and true with the word, is a narrative, a poem. I tried to say that together. A parative doesn't work. A poem and a narrative.
We can make new words here. It's fine.
A parative. I like it. It's
I like it.
That this parative, it's fundamental. What makes an epic different than a story is that it is uniquely about divine influencing the mortal in a narrative. That's what's different than just any old story. And so I realized, or for me, what I realized was, oh my God, if there's this narrative, this poetic, gorgeous, amazing narrative of the divine, or whatever, what we could call divine, in the material universe story, oh my God, we're stardust. What changes when we recognize that we're stardust? We could say it differently. We could say, well, what changes when we recognize that you're a spiritual being, have a material experience? Other ways to say it. But for me, it was Stardust. Like, oh my God, I go into awe, and I invite everybody watching this to just get into the awe of, oh my God, every freaking molecule in your body and around you has been around for billions of years, and not a molecule in the last few billion years could have been out of place or any different. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here the way you are. And you're already epic. You're already part of a story that is inclusive of science and religion, etc. You are already gorgeous and beautiful in a poetic or a mythopoetic way. You are the embodiment of multiple myths and stories. So for me, oh my God, that is an interesting perspective. An epic life is just remembering that in whatever form, and then going, wow, if I'm already epic, if I'm already part of this bigger game, and therefore I don't have to prove myself. Therefore, there is no fraud, there is no imposter, etc., etc.
Okay.
None of those things can exist if we're holding the perspective of nothing's actually wrong. And that's really what the problem is that I'm trying to solve is if we really take it seriously that we're not broken and not wrong, then what changes? Everything changes.
Everything.
And nothing changes.
Wow. Because nothing changes because it already was.
I might want to do 100 push-ups every day. Knowing that I'm Stardust or knowing that I'm Divine Being does not change, at least a lot, the mechanics of my push-ups. But what it might do is change I might recognize, wait a minute, why am I doing the push-ups? Oh, because I think that I'm broken fundamentally, and I need to change in order to X, Y, Z. Back to entrepreneurs. How much money do I think I need to make to prove the thing? To what? To who? Is that really important? What actually matters here? And that brings us back to, what does it mean to know ourselves? Because I think it's fascinating that there's so many typing systems and assessment systems. I've done a lot of them. I love them, and I've done a lot of them. And for some reason, I have had a terrible challenge actually believing them. And I don't know how many entrepreneurs this is true, but I know that when I bring my epic map to people, which is an inside-out assessment of their life's plot, really, that lands in a different way than any external system that assesses who I am, what I do, what my strengths are, how I should make money, etc., etc. Because all of those are perspectives. They're solutions to a particular problem, and they're all useful. But the most useful system for someone to know and understand is their own system, I believe. And they have to own it. And
I agree with that.
That makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I totally agree with taking responsibility and owning stuff. But it's almost like what you're saying is, when we have a limiting belief, when we have those things, we can remember, who we really are, what we're really all about, what we've always been.
Yeah. And I mean that gets chills when you say that, Jim, because so many people who listen to Entrepreneur Truth probably are well versed in the idea of limiting belief and remembering who we really are. Is it okay if I combine those ideas for a moment?
Of course.
I discovered with a woman who had asked me for yoga consulting and coaching. I discovered with her, we did some work that healed her back, that dramatically impacted her relationship with her husband, and then they became pregnant. But then in a conversation where she was telling me limiting beliefs, she was saying, I can't do this, I can't do that, and this. But it's kind of that heavy stuff that, like, what do we typically want to do when someone we care about or someone we're coaching or a client gives us negative beliefs? I think most of us, or the tendency, even for me, is to argue it, to share a different point of view, to say, no, that's not the case, you're really amazing. And what I discovered completely by accident was, if I took her words as truth, as an expression of who she really is, but I let go of the negative meaning of it, then it was literally herself giving her the right advice. It's kind of like this. Here's a good example. Jim, I just can't get out. I just can't get out of this trap. I'm really stuck. And no matter how hard I push and try and do my marketing, I just can't get out of this room. And if you argued with me, we'd be here forever. But if you said, you're right, Alex, you can't get out there. You're brilliant. You actually know what you're talking about. You can't get out there. You're absolutely right. Where can you? Maybe there's a door sitting nearby. Oh my God, there's a door over here. I was actually speaking the truth, but didn't know it because it was overlaid with crap and negativity and really fear and victim and a host of other energies. So many times, I'd say 9 times out of 10 at least, when someone is sharing their limiting belief, I listen to it as it's literally the next step in disguise. Not it's a fear, go tackle it, or it's an obstacle, it's your way. No, it's literally the more easy route. You can't go out this way. You're right. Now what? And it most of the times just dissolves limiting beliefs and opens up creativity.
Wow. Okay, so say, for example, that an entrepreneur is having trouble getting their business going. They're not making any money whatsoever. And they really feel like that's a limiting thing. Like, I can't sell ice to someone in hell, basically. You know what I mean? So it just seems like that they're stuck. What would you do with that or say to them?
Yeah, well, so that example of I can't, what's that?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, how do you use that and change it into, free?
So it has to be very specific. So I'm going to use your example as the example.
Yes.
So if they're basically, let me make sure I get this right. They really want to be making money. They're having a hard time, specifically around sales.
Yes.
And the thing is, what they say is, and this is a moment of vulnerability. I can't sell ice to Eskimos.
Yes.
So you're right. You can't sell ice to Eskimos because Eskimos don't need ice, and they are masters of ice. So how are you trying to sell ice to Eskimos? How is that happening for you? And what would you like to sell to Eskimos, or would you like to sell ice to someone else? And usually one of those angles, they're like, oh, right, that.
Yeah.
Like, right, oh my God.
Okay, I get it. Okay. Okay. I was trying to make sure, but I just gave you my thing. So
thank you.
I was being transparent with you and vulnerable because that's my thing. That's me right now.
Yeah, and thank you. Appreciate that so much, because if we just play with that metaphor of ice and Eskimos with the context of you want to make money and you want to make a difference, and how much love and care would you need to have to think that you want to sell ice to Eskimos? Like, there's deep love in that. So by honoring that, now we could then look at what is this ice? What are the Eskimos? And start to have a playful conversation. Because somewhere in there is, oh my God, wouldn't it be fun? Like, I'm just making this up, but we want to start drawing out truth from you. Like, wow, wouldn't it be fun to, maybe there's a Eskimo festival happening that we could put on a show of how fast can you melt giant ice cubes without fire. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, that's it. Like, here's this bigger, unique solution that's true to you, true to your past, true to your skill set. We're using the metaphor, but if we looked at your actual products, and except we can make it more real, and sometimes just playing with the metaphor, because the metaphor is literally, it's like the metaphor is the set of containers for what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So as we play with the metaphor, your mind shifts, and then the things that are the components that you're playing with, the puzzle pieces, they start to shift. So sometimes working with the metaphor gets us a far way.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really, really good. And I just want to put things out there for the audience because I don't mind. I don't mind putting myself out there. I have no problem with that. Everybody knows it's watches this. I don't mind at all. But it's a thing where I can show how you do things, because you do things so much differently than I've ever heard of before. I'm being honest. I've not heard this at all anywhere else. That's a compliment, by the way.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that is because you think so differently about things, about the yin and yang, basically you know, the both sides and things like that. So my mind is like a sponge on this interview because I love how you think. I really do.
I appreciate that, and it's produced interesting results for people, and also sort of, I'll call them side effects results, where when I was a personal trainer, people were saying like, oh, I'm connecting with my daughter better, or my wife better, or I'm doing this and this that I never did. When I had a small business owner in San Mateo in the Bay Area, we started with his ankle, then went into his deeper dream. He realized that he was not acknowledging how deeply he embodied the archetype of protector. And the more we made room for that, then everything else changed. He was able to do the both and that he wanted to do, the business and the other dream.
Yeah.
And then everything else fell in place. And the deeper we go with the metaphors or these identities, in a way, the more room they have for everything that we want, that we actually want, that we actually can achieve. And sometimes it's just in time. It's like, back to, it could be, we might say a message or we might have a dream, but it's 5 years off.
Yeah.
And then we say, oh, I gotta make this happen. But we try and then it doesn't work, just like this. Well, sometimes this is about timing. And I think a lot of people know that in certain ways.
I do.
Yeah. I had one lady that we started connecting with when I was in Hawaii, where we did her epic map, which is both ridiculously simple but extremely potent. And within a year, she shifted from being, a six-figure speaker to authentically aiming to be a seven-figure entrepreneur. And just like 2 years later, she's consistently in the 250 a year. So she's really aligned things and handled massive complexity of things that have shown up in her life while reducing her time. So it's like, how much leverage can we get with what really matters? And I'm uniquely interested in the epic part, which is the intersection of what's our real narrative, who are we really, and then how are we putting that into forms, whether it's our exercise or our writing and self-expression or our entrepreneurship and pricing. And so I look at it from that inside out, and I see the whole, and that's what brings me alive, is seeing that X-ray vision or that epic ray vision. I see epic people, not dead people.
So he's got the sixth sense. I'm kidding. I have this thing, and I've shared it on many of the shows that I've done. And so it's kind of a vision in a way, or I'm not sure, but I actually see it's almost like a staircase, but the staircase is all of hands, and everybody is lifting up these people from each step to each step to each step to the top. Now, the top, I'm not sure what that is exactly, success, or what success is different for everybody, but it's just like a community of people that care and that want to help each other and I think that's what I'm supposed to do, is build that.
I think that's amazing. So I have chills. And I
I'm
just want
sorry.
to ask everybody who's listening and watching, like, just check in with your body. Like, how do you feel after hearing Jim you say that? Because my body relaxed. I have chills. There is a truth to that. And can I share a couple of reflections?
Yes, please.
So on one hand, you can't not do that.
Right.
You can't not do that, because that's at the level of dream and metaphor. So that's an expression, a reflection of who you are and what you do. On the other end of the spectrum is the doing. And that's where we want to get into question. How does this want to be expressed? Now, you're already doing it with this podcast.
Yeah.
And your vision for this podcast is a match to what you just shared with the hands and the community and success being more flexible in terms of definition. So again, you can't not do that. And I love pointing out what you can't not do that is freaking amazing and genius. Because you can have a really bad day, and the thing that's going to support you is going to be some version of a staircase of hands supporting your success. It might look like Tylenol when you got a backache.
Yeah, maybe.
But the way you're going to relate to it is what you're going to relate to. And then when you share that, or any version of that, then I and other people can go, I want that. I'm aligned with that. I resonate with that. And there's a home feeling to that. Even if you never built another thing, but now and then you share that vision in the way you just shared it with us, there'll be a creativity from there. And when you're doing that, then there's less work, less effort. I don't mean there's less to do, because there might be a lot to do.
I agree. There's a lot to do.
Yeah. I mean, the sense of struggle to do it is different. And there's a bit more of the joy, like the joy of fighting, the joy of doing it.
Yes, exactly. And that's what I feel. I mean, I feel like I have a group that we have of a lot of the people that I've had on the show. And it's like, I'm building a community of those people that everybody has a small part in that. So it's like everybody's hands. That's what I kind of see. So it's like one person has the part where they know, understand and know this thing, and somebody else knows this thing, and somebody else knows this thing. So if anybody needs help, it's just a ton of people to say, hey, I'm struggling with this. What do you think? And then they can go ahead and use their hands, and then, and lift them up and get them past that point to help them succeed. And that's the whole concept.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful. So that's the vision. And so it's not only the show, it's a group, and I don't know what it's going to evolve into. I really don't. I don't have that answer at this point, but right now that's what I'm doing, because that's what I'm supposed to do. That's my role right now.
Yeah, exactly. And kind of like a garden, the more you don't need to know how many fruit the plant's going to grow in 6 months, the more you lovingly, with curiosity, water it, nurture it, the happier your body will be, and the more flow you'll have.
Yeah, I don't have any stress about doing this, and I do it all the time. I have shows coming out all the time. And I first started this, it was supposed to be a weekly thing. So there's a lot of times that I'll mess up and say, hey, this week my guest is, and it's like, okay, this has been like, there's like 5 shows out this week, so or 6, 7. So, it's been a journey. I started this on September 25th, 2019. That's my 50th birthday. And decided that this was what I was going to do. I had done a different podcast with the Detroit Lions, unfortunately, because misery loves company. Sorry. But so I had done that, and I learned all kinds of things about how to do this stuff. And then it's a passion of mine, but it's not the real heart that I have. So it's like when this just aligned, and I started this on my 50th birthday, told everybody I was going to do it, so I had to. And it's really grown. It has really grown from there. It's been an amazing journey so far, and I'm looking forward to the rest of it, to be honest. Sorry, I don't want to take up all your time, me talking. Do you have any insights as to what you see in all that?
I missed the last sentence because of the internet, but so I got most of it. But was there a last piece about that you shared?
Yeah, I usually don't remember the last thing I said, which is the case at this point. Being totally honest.
So I think I want to invite more people to play the game of, oh, I guess that's what I'm doing. instead of I'm going to do this because I said I would, or I'm going to do this
Yeah.
because I have to, or I think
Yeah.
that I should. Because I used to have this idea about destiny. I thought the only thing I can say for sure about destiny is what happened was my destiny. But I don't know what my destiny is going forward.
Right.
And I
So
think the
the
idea there
book is
was,
unwritten. I like that idea.
yeah, and I think the idea for me was a certain recognition that I might say that I know what I'm here to do
Mm-hmm.
or become, but I could be completely wrong, and most of the time I have been. That, let's call it coming from the mind. We could argue that's not what the mind is really the best at. That's really what the heart or the body is best at. The
I
heart and the
agree.
body know what we're here to do, right? You
Yes.
look at someone's body, you're like, wow, can you run? No, I'm told all the time I look like a wrestler or a gymnast, right? We look at the body as another good metaphor, and there's a certain potential. And yes, I could play basketball, but I'm probably not going to have the most fun with it. Back to just there's certain things we can sort of know by looking at someone's body.
Mm-hmm.
And in a similar way, if we can play the game of, oh, I guess that's what I'm doing. I guess that's what I'm going to do. Oh, I guess that's what I'm supposed to do. There's a softness to that I think balances out the type A, the go get 'em that we all have, the individuality need, the need to be a unique individual and success. So when I come like, what do I want to become next year? I mean, try this. Right now we're having this conversation at the end of 2019, going into 2020. If we imagine 2020, let's just do this. Let's go advanced. Imagine 2020, but also at the same time imagine the next decade, the next 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Just holding that in our awareness. And then be like, okay, who am I going to become? And I imagine some people might have an image or a sense or something they've already written down, but I go completely blank.
Mm.
And now I could make that wrong. I could go do some meditation about that. I could try to change it. Or what if it's not wrong? Let's ask a different question. Oh, and what did you experience in those few seconds?
When you said blank, it was almost like a book with the pages unwritten. It was freeing in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is free. And so we could look at it even as like, oh, I went blank. How is that not wrong? How is that actually the right answer? So on one hand, it's blank. It's unwritten. Hey, let's play. Right? Boom. We just got out. We just changed that in my body. Now it's later. On the other side, let's ask the question, 2020, the next 10 years, and just step into the space of, oh, that's what's happening. Oh, that's what I'm going to do. Almost like we're discovering it or observing it almost by accident.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's a glass of water here.
Like you're observing and discovering that that's what that is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that brings us into the present. Oh, there's a glass of water here. Am I thirsty? Oh, there's an opportunity to set my goals differently. Is that what I really want to do now?
Mm.
It's just slightly different angle to get to a similar place. Back to either way, we're going to be doing selling, marketing, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But what if we can allow ourselves to do it more than make ourselves do it, or at least have both?
Like having a peace about it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being stressed over it. Let's put it that. Maybe those terms or something. And then you look at yourself 10 years from now. And for me, I don't know. I don't see it. I don't know. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I come from a different mindset. I almost died 3 times. So for me, I don't know I'm going to be here in 10 years. And I know that might be a little deep and tough to handle. And I know probably it ain't the thing that people want to hear, but it is what I think. I have to have that in the back of my mind now because of things that I've been through.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's like I see that and I'm like, it's blank as well, but there's other considerations why that's blank.
Yeah.
Just because of the trauma and the things that I've been through.
Yeah, exactly. And so, as first of all, what a gift for you to give that to us, because now we get to reflect on that for ourselves, and we get to have compassion for you and more connection with you, and that's wonderful. And there's the hands.
Exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, there is so much richness. Now, you don't have to ever tell that story as an entrepreneur. You can. It's an asset. It's a resource. It gives you energy. And even if it's simply when you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, and just spontaneously you remember like, oh my God, I've almost died 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
What's today about? And it comes
Mm-hmm.
back to the both and of the like, yeah, there's some urgency and clarity and insights that you've had that would be fascinating to learn about. And there's a softening. You know, I made myself wrong for years because asking the question, what would I do if today was my last day on earth, or this is my last week on earth, and you know, what's important and what matters? The only thing I ever got out of that meditation was I'd snuggle with my wife. Like,
mine was, I want more time.
mm-hmm.
No, definitely. That's what I thought. And I said, and I kind of look back on it. And I'm like, how did I spend my time? How did I spend my time? Did I spend it with my kids and my relationships and stuff like that? And then sadly, it kind of wasn't that way. It wasn't a thing where, you know, I look back at my life and it did flash before my eyes. That did happen to me. And I guess my goal was to be just a better person and more transparent and more caring about other people and stuff like that. Now, am I succeeding? Yeah, I don't know. But, you know, but it brings all this perspective, I guess you want to say, you know, as to what you do every day and how important that is, and how important relationships are, how less important money is, to be quite honest. And that's part of my whole thing. I don't really know that I don't value it as much as I should, because I've been to the end of the line, and money wasn't going to help me much in that situation.
Yeah. I mean, this is probably it sounds like there's so much you have to give to help people value their lives, value their time, value themselves, and then relate that to money. You know, and to come back to the Eskimos, it's like, yeah, you're not going to sell an ice cube to Eskimos, but if you could melt that ice that keeps people running after money, when really in their melted heart, they want connection, love, they want to manage their time, they want to look at a few other things. It's like, yes, you're selling the ice cube to Eskimos, you're selling the melting of the ice cube to Eskimos. They already have the ice. In this case, how many entrepreneurs or other people, might not be entrepreneurs, who end up being like your best niche, who knows? But imagine how many people are out there whose heart have not, the iciness around their heart that is informing their business and their career and their relationships has not melted, and they would give you their 401k to just melt that. Not saying you should do that, but just do you see how that's?
No, I see it.
Like,
no, I really do.
True about that.
I really do. There's a lot of truth to what you say. It's just, you're fascinating as a person. I just got to tell you. And I tell people stuff because, you know what? I don't care what people think. I really don't. I don't care.
Because you almost died 3 times.
Exactly. So I can say what I think. And I had a lot of people. I had like 3 people or 2, something like that. It was on the show, and they were talking about God, they were talking about religion, and they're like, well, that really shouldn't talk about it in the show, on the podcast. And I'm like, well, you know what? It's my show. We can talk about what I want. It's the beauty of me producing my own stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't want limits, and I don't want all that stuff. And I want the truth, and I want the heart of people. And I think we've captured that today with you. I really do. I really see that you do care for people, and you do want to help people. It's something in you, and it's from your past too. I also believe that you had a lot of negative or something like that in your past, and things that people like either put you down or very limiting beliefs, things like that have popped up in your past, and you have really done a good job with overcoming that.
Well, Jim, you read something at the beginning that nobody's ever read before, because I've never shared in my bio. I'm just looking at it here. That feeling free enough to laugh and smile around actual people has been something I had to work on.
Yeah.
I shared this with you, this old bio, because randomly in some old Facebook group, someone tagged me and said, "What a great bio." And I had just put this without just for no other reason. When I put it out there, just like, oh, this is just true, and this is what's true right now for me, and boom, 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 boom. The thing is, though, like my dad told me, I remember being on the floor, we were watching TV, and I was laughing, and I was 9, 10 or so, and he said, don't laugh like a girl. And I, and then fast forward to high school, I remember the moment when my friends and I were laughing, and they looked at me and they're like, "Alex, you're not making any sound." And then fast forward to college, I was watching Something About Mary in the theater when it came out by myself. I mean, the theater was full. It was opening day, but I didn't have any friends with me. And I literally fell out of my seat in the aisle, laughing my ass off out loud. The work it took to do that, and it's still something that'll come up in my memory, or it'll come up as a sensation. But it is such, the more work I do on that, the more life I have to give, the more I let myself care, the more I melt my own ice. And whether I tell that story or not, who knows, I may never put that in a bio again. I also know it's an important story in my life. But to the degree that I'm alive on the planet, I'm an open door for people to allow themselves to smile, allow themselves to laugh out loud. And if we see that as a metaphor, what does it mean to smile and laugh out loud in business, in terms of profit, or in terms of letting go of the need for profit? Again, back to just like, what's really going to make you smile and laugh out loud, and back to, who are you really? And are you
it's the person that's deep in your soul.
Yeah.
That's the genuine you.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that that's who you are on this show today. I really do. This has been deep. I mean, really, really deep. And I think people are going to gain a lot of value out of what you have said today. I totally believe that. And I appreciate you for being open and being able to tell us vulnerable stuff. It's not easy to do when you're putting it out there for everybody. So I appreciate that. Wow, this is such a good conversation. I want you to tell everybody about what you do, as in, what you have coming up, if you have courses coming up, things that you have that it could be available to everyone that's listening.
Yeah. Well, for the most part, I travel around. I'm in the Bay Area at the moment. I will continue to be for a short while, and then open to going other places. So I do VIP days. I do pretty intense immersions with interesting people. Sometimes they come to me. Sometimes it's online. Right now, I'm near a labyrinth, so I love taking clients to,
that's great.
Integrating the labyrinth with it. But everything I do is super custom for people, and it's about opening themselves to what they really, who they really are, and what they really do. Specifically, what I put together for Entrepreneur Truth is, at the end of 2017, my dad passed away, and afterwards, I was working out with my sister, and she said, I really wish I could work out with you more often, because it's so unique, and I just feel it's like so alive. And what that inspired me to create was a 28-day workout where it's 10 minutes a day, because she's a scientist. She saves shorebirds. Like, she's busy. And so I created 10-minute workouts There's 28 of them. Every one of them has a unique theme, like a life theme, like awareness, surrender, some deep stuff, some less deep stuff. But it's then connected to our body through mind-body movements that are related to that theme and that activate it, as well as just regular but smart mobility for joints so that you're freer in your body, as well as simple human movements like squatting and lunging, in about 1 minute of meditation, all in 10 minutes. So it's really powerful, deeper than a lot of people realize. It's really awesome. So I put all that together. I charge a few $100s when I created it, and I'm just giving it away to you guys because you're about truth, and people are waking up and they need entrepreneurs who are living and speaking truth. So yeah, there's a link for that, and you'll be giving that to them.
I totally appreciate that. And that link is down in the bio. It will also be in the Entrepreneurial Truth Facebook group. Why has this been so good and so deep? And it's hard for me to end it. I'll tell you the truth. I debated, saying, okay, tell us what you do and all this, because of the conversation has been so good. I see good people with good hearts as the next generation of entrepreneurs. And I see us changing the world. I really do. Not only for our generation, but for the younger generation, the next generation that's going to be entrepreneurs, and then the kids that we will give that choice to. So my heart is I want to be able to help kids to get a better understanding of entrepreneurism, if I can say the word. That's something. But I do. I think that that's important. I don't think our schools teach it enough. So that's something that I'm passionate about. Also, the people that are like a little older, but they're just starting out, I want to help them as well. So if somebody's just starting out, or it could be a kid, it could be. I'm just saying, what advice would you give to a new entrepreneur, somebody who's just starting out that might be stuck into what their niche is or what the thing is? I mean, you said that you were stuck with that, but what would be your advice to new entrepreneurs?
Well, definitely things depend.
Of course.
That's going to be the staple answer, so I'm not going to go there.
Sure, that's okay.
Just for fun, to go into advice with, obviously I would ask a lot of questions. I would spend some time with the person. But just for the fun of the advice, my advice right now would be, the first thing you do when you're looking yourself in the mirror is you ask, how many mistakes can I make and how disappointed can I be today?
Wow.
Now,
you blow me away. I'll tell you what, you really blow me away.
Now, if they know what the essence of their greatest fear is, then I would say you look at, like, how can I have my greatest fear today? How much of that can I be? Because the trick of the universe is, the trick of the trickster with us here is, in the disappointment, in the fear, is our power and our purpose. Not as an answer, but as a flow, as an energy, as a stream. And instead of spending time trying to push it away, if we ask for it, the joke is, what I'm really asking for is my power. So for me, in my epic map, I'm like, everything I do is the transformation of buried alive and being epic. Nobody needs to know that. I share it, but nobody needs to know that for me to be successful in any way. For me to use that to my advantage is all it takes. For me, it's, all right, how buried alive can I be today? Which in my body radically activates me, but because I'm doing it by asking, and there's that knowing that, like, okay, what I'm really doing is asking for my power and my purpose more than I've ever experienced before, out of my comfort zone. So for me, that's extremely powerful. Enlivening, brings me into my heart. So on one hand, just like, yeah, disappointment, mistakes, right? What do we avoid? How bad can I hurt people today? How many people can I totally take for their money? Now, by actually asking these questions, especially earlier on the day, we're just getting rid of the crap. Because, like, of course, we're not going to do that. If you can ask those questions, you're not the kind of person to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting to the joke of it, which is you're not broken. So the unbroken person doesn't fear mistakes because there's no such thing as a mistake. The unbroken person is whole, and in wholeness, there's no mistakes. There is no such thing as disappointment. There's a sensation, there's feedback, but we're not afraid of it. And that doesn't stop us. It's all information. So what mistakes can I make today? How disappointed can I be? Take a couple breaths. Is there anything for me to do today? That's where we start to get creative with actions. Is there anything for me to do today? Not what should I do, because that implies that there is an answer. Is there anything? Maybe not. Maybe today is take care of your mother day or whatever. Is there something to do today? And sometimes you might not have any clue, but because you've asked that question, you've set your brain up to look for answers, to recognize things, then you're on purpose. You can't not be on purpose. On track too.
It's almost like setting up a search.
It's absolutely, it's like brain, autopilot, universe, all of it, because I'm part of the universe. How many disappointments can I have? Now, what's hiding behind disappointment? How am I going to achieve? Let's look at it from the point of view of achievement. How many disappointments can I achieve today? Well, I'm only going to achieve disappointments and mistakes if I, quote unquote, go for it. So implied, if I say, like, how many sales can I make today? God, my body freezes up just for that.
Yeah, mine will too.
No, God, it's out of my hands. Like, what do I have control over? Well, I have control over things that I do. So what if I said, how many disappointments can I create today? Oh, I know how to do that. Right?
Me too. I'm real good at that.
Now there's the space to look at your sales process and look at your list because you've already felt the disappointment.
So you can already, you can already process that.
Yeah. And those sensations don't have to stop you later when you're trying to go somewhere.
Wow. So take them on right away, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, you make room for it. In fact, that's the key piece of being epic. It's a key piece of shadow work in general. It's hello. What's a good shadow? Laziness, fraud. Hello, the part of me that is lazy. Welcome. Thank you. One of the pieces of work that I do with people, I call it initiating them into being epic. It's sort of like discovering in a deep mind-body way that, like, oh my God, they're not broken. They're supposed to be here. It's good that they're there. But to feel that is different than to think it.
Definitely.
And one of the parts of that is essentially to say thank you for all your problems. Thank you for the shit you've been through. Thank you for your wounds. Thank you. Now, when I know what their key words are, then it's even more powerful. It's like, thank you for your buried alive, which doesn't mean anything linguistically, right? It's like not bad. It's bad grammar. Right. But when someone says to me, Alex, thanks for all the buried alive and thanks for all the being epic. What they've done is they've acknowledged my entire experiential world. There's nothing left out of that for me. If they said that to someone else, they'd be like, what the hell are you doing? For me, it would be radically opening. And so with coaches, oh my God, can you imagine if entrepreneurs and coaches either had that in their head about their clients or outright said it? You get on a sales call, you get on a client call, and beforehand, you go, you look at your notes like, okay, I know this person is absolutely fear of bankruptcy and desperately wants their message to succeed. So in my head, I'm going to go, okay, thank you for bankruptcy and thank you for your message. And by me acknowledging that, now I've set myself up to support them without interfering with them.
Right.
Because if I didn't, then any unacknowledged bankruptcy fears I have will interfere. Or any places that I'm not willing to be successful with my message will interfere. So it's not about me. which is why I want to take their words, their system, their agenda, and I want to embrace that fully. Now we can get creative.
Right. That's so awesome. That is so awesome. Oh wow, this has been a really good show. This has been a one of those that I'm going to put up there as one of my top ones. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate your openness. I really appreciate your mind. You know, the way you think is, like I said, totally different than most people. And I would highly recommend you to people. I think that there's such a fascinating viewpoint that I have not heard before, and I've heard a lot. I'd spent 7 years off work, 3.5 years on dialysis, and then recovering from that and the transplant and all that stuff. So I had a lot of time to study, a lot of time to research and all this other stuff, and I know all the cute phrases and all this other. But what you're talking about tonight is truth. It's just real. So it's so different than I'm used to. So I appreciate that. Okay, I really do. I really do.
Thank
I can
you.
honestly say epic, Alex.
I
I can. All right. Do you want to say goodbye to everybody?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, everybody, and thanks for being epic. And thanks for being you.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you, everybody, for listening this week. Hit the subscribe button and the little bell thing, whatever that does. And then I just appreciate you guys, and the freebies will be down in the YouTube description, also in our group. So we will have that for you when the video comes out. And I appreciate you, and have a nice day.